second day, second hour session with our esteemed guest. It's an absolute honor and privilege to welcome our distinguished guest today, Miss Elizabeth Agboola, a visionary tourism strategist, policy advisor, and founder of Entity Global Destination. Recognized globally for her trailblazing work, Elizabeth Ma'am is a transformative leader in advancing destination economies through the powerful intersection of tourism, trade, investment, and diplomacy. Her extensive expertise centers heavily on the regional development across Africa, the Caribbean, and emerging halal economy. A true catalyst of international cooperation, she made history by spearheading the landmark first direct Nigeria and Caribbean charter flights connecting Africa and Jamaica. Her high level institutional impact is reflected in her prominent national advisory appointments, serving as strategic partner for market access and tourism diplomacy to the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority, that is NTDA, strategic partner for international relations and strategic engagement to the Federation of Tourism Associations of Nigeria, FTAN, Halal Tourism Lead on the Nigeria Halal Economy Strategy Implementation Committee Secretariat. Having explored more than 70 countries across 6 continents, Elizabeth Mam brings an unmatched global perspective and profound intellectual rigor to the industry, most recently encapsulated in the seminal doctrine of publications, Tourism as Capital. At the core, her philosophy is a paradigm shift, viewing tourism not merely as a leisure, but a vital economic asset capable of driving sustainable growth, regional integration, and international diplomacy. Our academic community, faculty, and future ready students, her remarkable trajectory exemplifies how passion, strategy, and cross border innovation can redefine professional boundaries and create lasting global impact. Please join me in extending warmest welcome to Ms. Elizabeth Agboola. We are deeply honored and to host you for the day, ma'am, and eagerly anticipate your invaluable insights. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mitra. Thank you. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, and there's no background noise. We're good to go. I can just start now.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's afternoon in India, right? So good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Nigeria. I apologize. I don't have any slides for you because I'm on holiday right now, so I couldn't get to put it together before the event. So I will just speak through, but I will try my best to make sure I don't bore you all. So greetings from Nigeria, and thank you to Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism and the university for inviting me to join you. Most importantly, congratulations to all the new students. You have chosen tourism, and because you're just beginning this journey, I want to spend our time together doing something slightly different. I don't want to give you a lecture about what tourism is. I leave your professors to do that because they will do a much better job. Instead, I want to talk to you about what tourism can become in your hands. Because when I started my own journey, I didn't understand tourism the way I do now. And I thought tourism was primarily about travel, airlines, hotels, destinations, tours, holidays. But after building all my businesses, traveling across different markets, and eventually engaging governments and institutions, I realized I had been looking at only one part of the picture. Tourism is much bigger than travel. And if there is only one idea I want you to remember from me today, it is that tourism is an economy hiding in plain sight, technically. So hopefully, if you're writing, maybe you've written that as well at the top of your notes. Tourism is an economy hiding in plain sight. And I would explain to you over the course of the next few minutes of my conversation with you. I started from the business side of travel. And like many people entering this industry, initially you concentrate on the traveler. Where are they going? Where will they stay? How would they get there? What experiences will they have? But over time, I started noticing everything happening around the traveler. That became very interesting to me, and that got me very curious as well. I began traveling extensively myself, as Dr. Mitra had said. I've been to over 70 countries across several cities that I've stopped counting. And somewhere along the journey, I stopped traveling as a traveler and I started observing destinations as economic systems. Think about the last time you traveled somewhere. Before you arrived, an airline earned from you. Perhaps you had to get a visa, so the visa services would have earned from you as well. Travel insurance. Then you landed, and then at the airport, people are operated because you came through. So that means the airport staff are being paid. Airport is earning money as well because you arrived. And then you would need transportation to go to where your hotel is. Then you get to the hotel. You use internet when you get there. You also ate, right? And you probably bought something. And then you would have visited various heritage sites and stuff. And maybe you attended an event. Maybe you bought some clothes because you saw that, oh, this deal is better than the deal back home. Maybe you bought a souvenir, fridge magnet, or something. You posted some photographs online, as I would expect you to. Suddenly, one traveler, you or I, we actually activate so many industries in one. But when you think about it, people start to see it as one person traveled. But look at the whole industry that was activated by one traveler. That is what tourism has just done. The tourism economy is not sitting inside the tourism ministry or inside a hotel. It is spread through the economy. That eventually changed the direction for me for my own career. Today, I'm interested in investment, policy, diplomacy, workforce development, and market access, as I am in the traveler. Because all of them determine whether tourism would actually work or not. I'll give you an example. When I was working on the first direct flight between Nigeria and Jamaica in the Caribbean, that was the first time it happened. We've always guessed what the travel distance was going to be, but nobody ever put it to theory like I did. Ordinarily, it will sound to you like I put a travel package together. Hotels, tours in Jamaica for people in Nigeria to explore. But when you look at it, I didn't just do that. I had to work with visas, which is immigration. I had to work with the airline that we're going to charter the plane from, aviation. I had to work with hospitality. I had to work with the local businesses on the ground for transportation, for tours, for everything. I had to work with the government. So it wasn't simply selling holidays. Another example of how deep our work is, that is just not within just, oh, people could go on vacation, no problem. I like the fact that India also has visa limitations like Nigeria does, so this would not be unfamiliar to you with this example I'll give. When it comes to visa and market access work, when you think about it, it means you're now having to communicate with embassies, various immigration, various, even you having to do advocacy as well. Because a traveler's journey can be ruined and probably not exist if there's no if there's no visa sorted. And that is why our work doesn't sit in one space. Now, that brings me to something very interesting that I want you to understand very early in your studies. Tourism is not one industry. Throughout your career, you will hear the tourism industry. I said that earlier. And I want you to make sure you erase that in your head for the course of the program. Think more about the visitor economy, because It is all circled into one, just as I had explained in my previous introduction. So when you think about the visitor economy, let's take us to Kolkata, which is where you are at now in India. Don't think about the tourists. Think about the money and follow the money. It's similar to what I had said before, but now I want you to imagine it now, straight from you arriving into Kolkata airport. Same thing as I said before. Think about the transportation company that is taking you, hospitality that is the hotel, telecommunications that is the internet that you had to use, or even the airport Wi-Fi that had to be provided by a telecoms company. Think about payment with your card, that is banking and financial services. Think about where you would eat, that is agriculture, food production, restaurants, and logistics. Then an heritage site, that's culture and heritage. Then you buy something locally made, that is retail and manufacturing. You probably attended a conference, that's event and business tourism. And then maybe you extended your trip to other parts of India. That's what I would do. That is more transportation, more accommodation, and more consumption. One person or a group of people. Multiple industries embedded and tied by just one, which is us, tourism. So do not let anybody make tourism sound to you like we're just doing child's play here. I always say it and people tell me to shush, but I know it will get to a point where people will stop telling me to shush. I tell them tourism is the most important industry in all the industries because it is only us that brings all sectors together. So instead of them addressing us as tourism sector, address us as the real deal. We are the visitor economy. We are the ones that are making things happen for every other sector. They can ignore us for all they want, but the ignoring us is only temporary. With more of us being aware of this, with more of us putting this out there and showing the seriousness of the sector, they will start treating us as not just one, but as what joins all. Okay, so I gave an example now of a traveler that came to Kolkata. Let's give another for India. And India is a fantastic place to understand this because tourism product is incredibly diverse. I see India come at every travel fair. Incredible India. I see it and they want hard to promote themselves. So let's look at India as a destination. Let's break it down. Some might come because of heritage, some might come because of business, because of wedding, spirituality, medical treatment, food, film, or visiting family, or just visitors. But economically, every single category of people I've just mentioned activate different value chains. That is why counting arrivals of country is just the beginning. The more interesting question is what happens economically because those people arrived? How much did they spend? Where did the money go? How many business benefited? How many jobs were supported? How much stayed within the local economy? Those are the more powerful tourism questions. And then that brings me to an interesting idea that has really shaped my work and is what I've worked on for the past 52 weeks, which is tourism as capital. I equally released an ebook just a few days about it, and I will be more than happy to send a contribution to the students via Dr. Mitra. Please feel free to read the 52 weeks or the 52 articles, and you would be nothing but proud of the sector you've joined. You'll be nothing but proud because you would see everything I'm describing to you now, how we are not just random tourism people taking care of travelers. Travelers are the bottom of our work. They're like the page 1 of 100, and the sky, the sky is not the limit. I think it's just the first layer of what this us in tourism can actually offer the world. They don't know it yet, but we would eventually let them know. So it brings me to tourism as capital, an idea that has increasingly shaped my work. And I mean that tourism should not be treated as leisure, as promotion, or hospitality. It should be understood as a productive economic asset. So I'll break it to you simply. Imagine there is an extraordinary waterfall somewhere. I'm sure there's a lot in India, so I would always want you to take a self into various sites. Pick your favorite waterfall as I'm discussing this. The waterfall exists. Is it automatically a tourism economy? No. Someone needs to be able to reach it, maybe by road. Now, infrastructure enters the conversation. Visitors arrive. They need somewhere to sleep. Accommodation enters the conversation. They need food. Agriculture and restaurants enter the conversation. They need someone who understands the area. That's the guides, and the employment enters this conversation. They want to purchase something authentic. Local businesses and creatives are now involved. Someone needs to finance those businesses. That is where banking and investment enters. Someone needs the market and distribute the experience. That is technology. Government needs to ensure standards, safety, and access. That is policy. The waterfall did not change. It's still where it is. What changed was the economic system built around it. That is the difference between having a tourism asset and capitalizing a tourism asset. Which brings me back to what I said earlier about the work I've done for 2 weeks, which is tourism as capital. Now, Nigeria has extraordinary cultural and natural assets. But possessing assets and buildings and the investable tourism economy around those assets are two completely different things. We can have beaches, festivals, heritage, cuisine, music, creativity, Nollywood, as you know, and Afrobeat, as you know. But if access is difficult, infrastructure is weak, investment is unavailable, or businesses around the assets cannot grow, then the economic potential remains trapped. And that isn't unique to Nigeria. Almost every developing tourism market faces some version of this problem. Beautiful places do not automatically create prosperous destinations. Systems do. So, you're all wondering, what's she rambling about? What has this got to do with my career? Everything. Because once you understand tourism this way, suddenly your career possibilities become larger. Perhaps some of you are imagining becoming hotel managers. Perfect. Perhaps airline executives, even better. Tour operators, destination managers, or you just want to have your own tourism businesses as entrepreneurs. All are important. But tourism also needs people who understand investment, finance, technology, data, policy, infrastructure, international relations, sustainability, creative industry, aviation, destination management, research, entrepreneurship. When I started, I certainly wasn't thinking one day I'll be discussing tourism policy, investment frameworks, or diplomatic relationships between destinations. I think I was simply just looking for beautiful destinations to sell for people to go for vacation. I think that was my interest when I started. However, life changed and I saw the wider picture. And that is why I'm grateful I have this opportunity to share this with you at this early stage. Don't become only a tourism graduate. Become tourism plus finance, tourism plus technology, tourism plus policy, tourism plus data, tourism plus sustainability, tourism plus international relations, tourism plus entrepreneurship, tourism plus culture, tourism plus culture. Find your plus. Now, imagine two graduates in your class. Imagine they apply for a tourism investment organization. Both of them study tourism. One understands hotel and destination management. The second one understands hotels, but can also read an investment proposal and understands return on investment and can explain the economic impact of a tourism project. What do you think will become more interesting for that job? The additional competency changes your value. That is the plus you need to find. And the beauty of that plus is it's in what you're interested in. If you love numbers, start already thinking about how you can understand, learn more about data, more about finance, more about accounting, more about all those things that have to do with numbers. If you love creativity, if you love advocacy, if you love to just go with what you have interest in and convert it into your plus. Now, Another example, imagine a government wants to understand why visitors aren't traveling beyond a major city. Let's give an example in India. Let's say most people are going to just New Delhi, and we want to know why people are not coming to Kolkata. And the government says we want somebody that can explain to us. Who do you think would be able to explain this? It would be somebody that understands transport, transport data, visitor behavior, infrastructure, and destination planning. The person can also come from tourism. Don't forget, a person that already has the plus can really fit in any other space other than the space you are expected to be, which is why I say find your plus. Sorry, I think I have a call trying to distract me. Okay, forgive me. Now, what did traveling across 70 countries teach me? Travel has probably been one of my greatest classrooms. And I'm so grateful I've had the opportunity to also ensure it's classroom for my children. Because right now, they would have done at least 20 countries, and my children are between 14 and 12 and 14. So I can imagine how much classroom they would experience going forward in life. So it has taught me so much. And that is one habit I would encourage you to develop. Whenever you travel, stop experiencing destinations as tourists. Start studying them. When you arrive somewhere, you would notice things differently. For me, for example, how easy was the immigration? How did I get from the airport? Was information clear? Could I pay easily? Did I feel safe? How easy was it to move around? Was I encouraged to spend? What local products did I encounter? How visible were local businesses? How did the destination make things feel easy? What did I see that was difficult? What would make me return? Let's use Dubai for example. I'm sure a lot of us would have visited Dubai or at least have a lot of information about Dubai. When you get there, you see it as an aviation hub. Everybody changes their flights there. And what you also notice in that same Dubai is the airport infrastructures, the, the hotels, the events attracting people to come globally. Some people only go to Dubai because they have a timetable of the event happening. They've been able to connect the world globally and reinforce us. So the lesson isn't simply Dubai has attractions. The lesson is Dubai has integrated everything, and that is why they have won or would win. Let's pick the Caribbean, for example. A small island with over 13 to 16 countries, much smaller population than India. Collectively, the different small countries collectively are not up to the population in India or in Nigeria. Yet, tourism is their main source of income because tourism can influence aviation, employment, food supply, infrastructure, foreign exchange, and national branding. The lesson isn't that tourism can be part of a can be part of a country's economic architecture. Let's use Jordan, for example. Jordan is another country that is not too far from India. Heritage sites such as Petra, which is one of the wonders of the world, they are powerful, but the tourism economy includes transport, accommodation, guides, food, art and craft, aviation, communities, and the visitor journey. And Jordan has beautifully done this that when you go to their country, you just don't go to one city. You are compelled to go from Amman to the Dead Sea to Petra to wander up the desert. And then you're like, oh, I want some coastal vibes. And you go to Aqaba. They have so incorporated their country as don't come for one, come for all. And when you think about it, those are the ways they win. Let's use London, for example. People don't just visit London because they want to see the Big Ben or the London Bridge. They spend across theatres, football. I'm sure we have some Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans and Tottenham, all of it. Shopping, transport, education, museums, and events. The tourism product is therefore an entire urban economy. So, this is my key line. A tourist experiences a destination, A tourism professional learns to see the system behind the experience. This is the habit you need to develop any and everywhere you go from the moment you've started this course, not to the end, because the end of your course is just the beginning of a new phase for you. So now, the tourism world you're entering is at a fascinating time. I would say lucky you, because the time I entered 10 years ago was nothing like what it is now. You have so much opportunities. You have so many things available to you for you that in 2 seconds you can be making money compared to how hard you have to work to make any money. Technology is changing how people discover and purchase travel. AI will increasingly influence planning and personalization. Travelers are becoming more sophisticated. Sustainability is becoming more important. And global economic relationships are changing. But don't make the mistake of believing tourism is the future, that technology is the future of tourism. Technology is only an enabler. A brilliant app cannot permanently compensate for a terrible destination experience. Technology can make booking easier, payments, discovery, data, it can make all of that easier. But eventually, when the visitor arrives, the physical destination must do the work to make the traveler feel okay. I'm particularly interested in what happens as travel relationships between Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and the Middle East. Traditionally, we often think tourism flows through established source markets. But imagine the opportunities in India and Africa, Africa and the Caribbean, Africa and the Middle East, Asia and Africa. These aren't simply tourism relationships. Movement can create familiarity. Familiarity can create trust. And trust can create business. A tourist can return as an investor. A student can become an entrepreneur. A cultural connection can become a commercial relationship. That is where tourism begins to touch trade and diplomacy. And that is another reason why I believe your generation should think much bigger about this sector. In talking about the trade I touched just now, some years ago, we had a group of tourists go to Jordan. One of the people that took on the trip, she was a small, an SME that produced Nigerian clothes like I'm wearing right now. And she said, I would love to supply all travelers a piece as her own investment to promote herself. So the only condition I gave everybody in collecting the piece for free was you must wear it on the day of travel so we can promote this lady that has given us this free gift. But something far interesting happened. When we got to the lobby of the hotel, as we were about to sign up, a lady walked up to one of the ladies. I love what you're wearing. And then immediately she pointed to the person that supplied the clothes. Oh, she gave it to us as a gift. What if I tell you that that woman made far more sale than she did by selling to that woman and to every other person that came to meet her, because tourism has just been used to transport trade. Do not see tourism as child's play. I keep saying it. We are more than people think we are. So now, that brings me back here. If I was sitting where you are today, if I could start university again, knowing what I know, I would do 5 things. One, I would study beyond tourism. I would read economics. I would understand technology. I would follow internal affairs. I would understand the art of business. Two, I would get practical experience very early. Don't wait for your graduation. Intern, volunteer, attend industry events, observe. Three, I would build relationships. Look around your classroom. Some of these people may still be your professional network 20 years from now. Four, I will document what I learn. Write, research, develop opinions. Don't wait until you're 40 before believing you're allowed to have ideas. Five, I will become very good at identifying problems, because problems create careers and problems create businesses. Don't only ask, where are the jobs? Instead, ask, what isn't working? And could I be the person capable of fixing it? So let me bring everything together. You have chosen tourism today, but you haven't just chosen to sell or promote holidays. You're studying movement, places, people, businesses, and economies. And increasingly, you're studying how those things connect. The world doesn't simply need more tourism graduates. It needs people who understand how tourism creates value, people who can build better destinations, create better businesses, people who can influence policy, people who can attract investments, people who can understand technology, people who can connect markets across the globe, and people who see possibilities that others overlook. So during the next few years, don't simply prepare yourself to work in tourism. Prepare yourself to understand the economy that tourism creates. Because once you understand that economy, your possibilities become bigger. And perhaps the question you should carry with you throughout your time in Amity isn't, where can tourism take me? Rather, where can I take tourism? Wow, I think I did it faster than I thought. Thank you very much. So, I know we're all connecting virtually, so I don't know how the coordination would work for question time, but you can ask me anything about tourism, entrepreneurship, international career, about Africa, about the Caribbean, tourism investment, or anything I've said today. I'm all yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that enthusiastic presentation. Uh, I do have few questions from my students.
Okay.
So we are connected in a hybrid mode where the students are seeing you, they're sitting in the auditorium and they're watching your presentation. Okay,
Oh,
so
lovely.
yeah, so I have got few questions from them. I'll just read it out to you.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the first question comes from a final year batch student. He asks, um, ma'am, you led the Nigeria Caribbean charter flight to Jamaica, as the profile said. What was happening behind the scenes that people outside the industry never would imagine?
I did get the question very well.
Okay, so he asks, ma'am, you led
Okay.
the first Nigeria Caribbean charter flight to Jamaica.
Mhm.
So, what was happening behind the scenes that people outside the industry never imagined?
Oh, okay. First of all, I was crazy enough to do this during COVID. So that's the first thing you need to understand in the level of madness and the level of my hunger. So when we started the conversation for the Jamaica to connect the regions, it started very casually. I attended a diplomatic dinner and I met the Jamaican ambassador at the time. And in meeting him, like I would meet any ambassador who would talk about what is possible with their countries. And he said, oh, it would be nice for us to connect Nigeria and Jamaica. And I said, not my problem, because there are no commercial airlines that connect us. He goes, maybe we should do a charter. And I'm like, hmm. So back to your question, what everybody did not know were the conversations I started making with the airline to say, oh, I would like to charter your aircraft. What do you think? And they're wondering if I was crazy because it was not also common. Now, this is March that I had this conversation, and COVID started almost immediately. So we paused, and the market and the industry thought it was never going to happen because we were meant to originally go in July. But I didn't stop. I didn't give up. As a matter of fact, Nigeria was not accepting any flights, and I was in the UK when COVID happened. However, the country neighboring Nigeria is called Benin Republic. I flew into Benin Republic and traveled by road into Nigeria because I wanted to finish the conversation. And then the part again that the industry didn't know was how much work I had to do to market the destination. I had to take a trip to Jamaica by myself in October to go and familiarize myself with the environment, create different content across all the different hotels. I then brought it back to Nigeria to start promoting for the people. And we had 132 passengers in COVID that took that trip. So what the industry did not know that I was doing was really the work of saying to myself, I'm not going to fail. This flight is going to move. And that is the work I had to do. I actually lost at least 8 kg in weight because I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I think the industry didn't also know I was depressed because of the weight of the work.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, we have one more question from our fresher student. She's asked, for someone sitting here today, ma'am, who wants to have an international career, but no international connections yet, where would you tell them to start from?
Start from what you have, not what you don't have. What you have right now is your internet. That is the beauty. What you have right now is your brain to read and to be able to write. I would want you to make sure from now to the end of time, you are projecting yourself via the articles you're sharing. LinkedIn, for example, is a free platform. Start writing different things that that relates to what you have interest in. Start looking for people that are already in those fields. Start engaging their platforms from now. Don't wait till you graduate. Start from now. People that are doing things you like, start engaging them. Start asking them to say, oh, can I write blogs on your website for you? Can I support you to be a virtual PA? Can I volunteer freely? Don't think about the money right now. You want to be in the network. So don't say you don't have international relationships. You have your brain and you have internet. Use the two together to put yourself out there. And I'll drop you one more line, which has also been something that has helped me till now. There is only a yes or a no. There is nothing called had I known. And that is the only reason why I keep entering doors, whether I belong there or not. I tell myself what's the worst that can happen. They will tell me a yes or a no. But I don't want to leave that place and then someone says, oh, you should have come. And then I tell myself, had I known? Please, I beg you, from now to the end of time, always tell yourself, do not be ashamed or embarrassed for your success or your progress. Don't say, I'm shy. Don't, no, you must be hungry. You must be bold. Yeah, I don't want to use the word aggressive because you might take it wrongly, but you must be bold enough to say to yourself, it is now or never. What is that thing from this movie by Coco, this Mexican, seize the opportunity, seize the moment. That's it. Yes.
So, another question. This is from one of our research scholars. He asks,
Okay.
um, uh, you spoke about tourism as capital. Was was there a particular experience in your career that made you realize that tourism could be bigger than simply being a visitor to a destination?
Yes, a lot actually. A lot, I would say to you. So, because of that flight I did many years ago, in 2024, one of the biggest banks in Africa, one of the biggest investment banks in Africa, you can look them up. They're called Afrexim Bank. They went to Jamaica for a conversation with the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister said it at that meeting. Oh, Jamaica received the first flight ever from Africa, blah, blah, blah. And the ambassador I told you I met in 2019 was in that room. And he said, as a matter of fact, the event you guys want to do in the Bahamas next month, I think you should invite that woman to be one of your speakers because she can add more value to this conversation. So I was invited. That was my first exposure to investment or capital markets or such conversations. But on getting there, I realized I was the only person in the tourism sector that was present. I felt very out of water. There were people in creative industry, oil and gas, banking and finance. You can imagine the whole 9 yards. But something happened. Each time I introduced to anyone, oh, I'm a tourism entrepreneur, they always looked down on me. They always looked at me like, almost like, how did you get here? Like, what are you doing here? And I figured to myself, what I did at the time, once it felt like a tourism work, it connected the regions. I know how much businesses has been happening between these regions since that flight I did. My work of making that flight happen is also what made Afrexim Bank know that it was possible for them to connect businesses between Africa and the Caribbean. I felt very small. I felt very sad. I felt very empty. And it got me into the, should I use the word anger? Because when you're angry, when you're angry, you're hungry. That's what I always say to myself. When you're angry, you're hungry. So I started my research. This is 2024 here. I started my research. I started reading up. I started all my self learnings. And I had just finished my MBA in tourism and aviation management at the time. I was already feeling like, oh, what a waste. I should have studied investment, but it's fine. The good thing about investment is you can do a lot of self learnings, you can read a lot of write ups and know what you're doing. So that is what led the presidents of my work and research on how tourism can be taken seriously. I want to enter a room, and when you mention tourism and you look down on me, I want to look down on you and say, do you actually realize that this tourism that you're looking down on is the very reason why this is happening and that is happening? That level of pride and confidence. So that is actually what led to it. And I've spent the last 52 weeks releasing different things every week, connecting tourism to every single sector from agriculture to health to climate change to oil and gas to there was no missing sector. So right now, if anyone tells me, I'm like, come, I have your answer here. This is it. So yes, that is actually what inspired me. I got into the investment and capital access conversation casually, and now I'm now well positioned as probably one of the only few people right now that have done as much work, especially in the Nigerian space and even the wider African space, on seeing tourism as capital.
Uh, that was wonderful. Uh, uh, it's like I don't want to say that I should have asked, but but then because of time, probably we have to keep these things till here today. But definitely sometime, someday again, we will meet, we will sit, and we will again continue this discussion. So, on behalf of Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism, Amity University, Kolkata, I sincerely thank Ms. Elizabeth Agboola for sharing her remarkable
Okay.
experience, insight, and perspective on tourism as capital. I take this from you, ma'am. Your journey has reminded us on tourism is not just about destinations. It's about creating connections. It's about opportunities, partnerships, and economic values across the border. I'm sure our students will carry many insights today from you, and I wish that this will help them to shape their own career in the global tourism industry. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, ma'am. You're kind. You have kindly joined us in spite of your busy schedule, in spite of being on a vacation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. This has been a fantastic opportunity, and I really hope maybe the next time I would make sure when you have your next program, I can sync it to when I would be on that side of the world, so I can actually be with the students in person. I really
Absolutely.
enjoy having to. I'm sure the newer generation, the people that are just getting in, get arrogant about the sector. Was anybody talks us down, you'll be like, nope, not today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was wonderful
Thank you.
having you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a lovely day, guys. Thank
Thank you.
you.
So here we signing off.
Okay, so I don't think I'm audible there.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, I'm audible. Okay. So we can move on to the alumni session. So thanks
Yes, ma'am.
once again to Miss Elizabeth. So we are ending this meeting.
Yes, ma'am.